Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session of the fourth annual English Language Conference 2026, organized by the Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University. It is a pleasure to introduce Ms. Basma AlRifai, English teacher and trainer at the Islamic Educational College. Ms. AlRifai brings 19 years of experience in education with a focus on interactive teaching methods and integrating life skills into language learning. She is passionate about creating inclusive learning environments that supports communication, critical thinking, and student engagement. In today's session titled Project-Based Learning, Ms. AlRifai will share insights into how project-based approaches can enhance learning experiences and encouraging active student participation. As you listen to the presentation, please feel free to share your questions and reflections in the chat box throughout the session. And we will try to leave time at the end to take one or two questions from participants. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Basma AlRifai.
Why don't you?
Thank you so much, Subhi. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm really excited to be today sharing with you this learning journey. And truly thank you for believing in the power of meaningful learning and for being here. I'm Basma AlRifai, an educator and a trainer, as Subhi just said. Today, our workshop is about project-based learning. So by the end of this lesson, inshallah, we will cover these objectives. We will recognize the meaning of project-based learning and its importance in modern classrooms. We will identify the key elements of effective project-based learning, and we will transfer a traditional lesson into a project-based learning one. Actually, I love getting to know each one of you individually, but since the number of participants is very large, I will do that by asking a set of questions that will lead us immediately to the topic of our workshop today. So please listen to the following questions, choose one answer, type it in the chat box if you may. Question number 1. When do you feel your students most engaged? While completing structured worksheets, or when working on hands-on or real-life tasks? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Okay. Okay, great, thank you. Let's move to the next question. Think about a lesson that your students loved. What made it so engaging? Was it the content or how they experienced it? What do you think? Okay. In your opinion, students learn best when they discover and apply knowledge themselves or memorize key information. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, guys. Dear educators, I want you just to close your eyes and to think about these questions. Have you ever spent hours working on something without noticing time passing? I want you to think about these questions. What made it so engaging? And how can we create that feeling for our students? As educators, we have to keep these questions in our minds while we're preparing our lessons for our lovely students. So please keep them in your mind. Based on what we've just discussed, we can define this kind of learning as project-based learning. So what is the project-based learning? It's a teaching method where students learn by doing and working on real-world projects that require them to Ask questions, think deeply, collaborate with others, and create meaningful outcomes. So instead of simply receiving information, students in the project-based learning investigate, collaborate, create, and reflect, resulting in a meaningful product or presentation. Through this process, they can develop not only academic understanding, but also essential skills. Count with me. Critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, the four C's, and problem solving. Can you imagine how important these skills are for our students nowadays? They are. Let's move to talk about what are the key elements of project-based learning. First of all, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So please listen to this question and type your answer. If I ask you, which of the following best describe the core feature, let's say, about effective project-based learning? A, teacher-led lectures followed by individual worksheets, or students working on real-life problems through inquiry, collaboration, and creating meaningful products, or in groups completing textbook exercises. So we agreed on B. Great. Thank you so much. So let's say, looking at this picture, we can see that we have 7 main elements for the project-based learning. We will talk about each one of them, and we will give examples as well. The first element for the project-based learning is challenging problem or question. We should start our project-based learning lesson with a challenging problem, a challenging question for our students. The second element is sustained inquiry. Students should ask questions, research, explore, and delve deeper over time. The third element, authenticity. Learning should be connected to real-life situations, real-life issues, and audiences. The fourth element is student voice and choice. Students have some choice and ownership over their learning. We will discuss how can we do that. The fifth element is reflection. Students reflect on what they are doing on their projects. They give and receive feedback. The sixth one is critique and revision. Students give and receive feedback and use it to improve their work while they're working on their projects. And the last element for the project-based learning is public product. Students should create a product and share it with an audience beyond the teacher. Maybe this is the most important element. Let's talk about each one of them. The first one, challenging problem or question. As we've just said that we have to start a project-based learning lesson with a challenging problem or a challenging question. How? A powerful and open-ended question that drives the entire project. So instead of starting with content, you have to start with a problem that doesn't have only one correct answer and requires investigation. For example, for grade 4 in science, we can start any lesson by asking this question: how can we reduce plastic waste in our school? Or in English lesson for high school, we can start our lesson by asking this question: how can stories influence social change? A powerful question, right? Let's move to the second element or the second step, sustained inquiry. Students should continuously ask questions, research, test ideas, and refine their understanding over time. How can we do that? It's not a one-day activity. It spans days or weeks with ongoing exploration, like, for example, research, interviews, experiments. Let's see an example. Students researching, for example, plastic waste. They have to answer, and they need to answer these questions while they're working on their projects. What types of plastic are most used in our school? How long do they take to decompose? And what alternatives exist? See, many questions requires them to keep investigating and keep asking questions and keep researching. The third element is authenticity. The project should be connected to real life issues or students' personal experiences. Simply make it real. Real problems, real data, real audience, not just using the textbook tasks. Example, students interview, for example, the school staff about waste management. They can analyze actual trash from their school. The fourth element, student voice and choice. How can we make it? That means that students have ownership over the learning, what they explore, and how they present it. So you, as an educator, you guide the learning goals, but students make decisions within that structure that you put. For example, students should choose to create, for example, a video or a poster or make a campaign. Or they also can choose to focus on recycling, reducing, or reusing. The fifth element is reflection. Students should think deeply about what they have learned and how they learned it. Reflection can be done. How? Journals, by using journals, or exit tickets, or group discussions. Example, first, you should, as an educator, start asking your students these questions. Then you can encourage them to ask these questions to each other while they're working on their projects. Examples of these questions. What was the most challenging part of your project? How did your thinking change while you're working on your project? What would you do differently next time? The sixth element, revision and critique. Students here in this step or in this element should give and receive feedback and apply this feedback to improve their work. This is the aim of this, let's say, element. In practice, it builds a culture where feedback is normal and expected. It's not criticism, but improvement. We need to spread this culture. Example, students, for example, present a draft on their campaign. They can give feedback in pairs, like, for example, I like, or I wonder, or what if, and give suggestions to each other. And the last element is public product. Students should present their work, their projects, to an audience beyond the teacher. Examples, the audience could be let's say the school administration, parents, community members. Also, they can start publishing their, let's say, final product by using, for example, videos online, posters around the school, for example. Let's see what is the importance of this element. The audience makes the work more meaningful and increases the students' motivation to work better on their projects. So these are the 7 elements of the project-based learning. Based on the 7th one, which is the public products, here we should highlight the number of important skills gained for our students in this step, such as, count with me, public speaking and presenting in front of a large audience, enhancing students' self-confidence, strengthening their discussion and persuasion skills. Can you imagine how important these skills are for our students? Now, let's move to the most interesting and practical part of our workshop today. Steps to transform any traditional lesson into a project-based learning one. How can I, as an educator, change any lesson, any traditional lesson, to make it a project-based learning one? Let's see an example. Example of traditional lesson. It's for grade 5 in science about the water cycle. The traditional way, teacher explains evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Then students watch a video. Then worksheet labeling diagram. And finally, end with a quiz. This is the traditional way that we used, let's say, to learn about water cycle in our schools. Let's see how to, let's see, move it to a project-based learning one. This example is content-focused, teacher-led, and short-term. Let's start transform this lesson to a project-based learning one. The first step, add a challenging question. You should start your lesson with a challenging question or problem, okay, to your students, so to turn the lesson into a real world, let's say, problem. Okay. Like, for example, we can start by asking, how can we design a system to collect and reuse rainwater in our school? See, it's an open-ended questions connected to their life, okay? So we can start our lesson by asking this question. The next step, build sustained inquiry. Instead of one lesson to give the water cycle in only one session, we can, or we have to, extend it over several days. Students on these days investigate, how does the water cycle work in real life? How is rainwater collected? And what systems already exist? The activities that we can provide here our students with, research or experiments. The third step, make it authentic. What does that mean? That we have to connect it to real life. Like, for example, we can ask our students to do these points on or while they're working on their projects. 2, measure rainwater or rainfall data in their area. To look at school infrastructure, to discuss water shortages in their community. So by doing or by asking our students to work on these points, we are connecting them to their real life. The fourth step, add student voice and choice. Give the students the ownership. Students can choose the design type and the format. Like, for example, they can use to make a tank, a filter system, or awareness campaign. Or they can decide whether to make a model or presentation, a video, or a poster. They have to choose. Give them the freedom. The fifth element or step include reflection. We should include reflection throughout the project, not only at the end of the project, no, while they're working on their projects. As we mentioned before, you can start as an educator asking your students these questions, then you can encourage them to ask these questions to themselves or to each others. Like, for example, what did we learn about water systems today? What problems did we face in our design? So they can, let's say, build deeper understanding, improve their work while they're working. Let's say, step number 6, build in critique and revision. Students present their design drafts, and then they can give feedback in pairs. After that, they can improve their models or their work based on this feedback and this revision. The final and the last step, you should end your lesson with a public product. Students should present their final product that they decided or they chose it before to school principal, other classes, to parents maybe, and they can also let's see, these are examples of the final products that they can provide us with: working models or posters or awareness campaign. Okay, since we still have enough time, we can have another example, this time in math. Let's see. This is the title of the project in math. It's for grades 4 to 6, to design our dream classroom. The math focus here will be about these points, okay? The measurement, the area, the basic geometry, and problem solving. Let's see how can we create this project-based learning math lesson. First, challenging question. We can start our lesson by asking this question: how can we design a classroom that is comfortable, organized, and fits everything that we need? See, a challenging question, let's say an open-ended question that we should start our lesson with. The second, sustained inquiry. We should tell our students that they have to explore the following things. What furniture is needed in a classroom? How much space does each item take? How do we calculate space? Activities that we can, let's say, ask our students to do in this step: measure classroom items, the desk, the board, everything in the classroom. Research standard sizes or use given measurements, and practice calculating area. So while they're working on their projects, they are fulfilling all these math objectives. The third step, authenticity. Students solve a real life problem, organizing a classroom space. This issue is really connected to their life, their classroom. The task connects math to everyday decision making. Now they are organizing their classrooms. Later on, maybe they will assure their parents how to organize their living room, for example. So we connect here math to everyday decision making, similar to what designers or planners do. The fourth step, student voice and choice. Students should or can choose the classroom layout, the furniture arrangement, and the group, let's say, roles. Who will be the measurer? Okay, who will be the designer? Who will be the calculator, the presenter? Also, they can create, or they can also add, let's say, some creative elements, like, for example, reading corner in our classroom, or maybe play area. The number 5 step, the reflection. Students reflect, as we said before, during and after their working. As we said, we have to start asking these questions for our students. Then we should encourage them to keep asking these questions to each other. Like, for example, did our design use space well? Or what math helped us the most? Or what would you change? Number 6, groups present, let's say, draft layouts, peer feedback. They can give feedback in pairs, and they can say, for example, is there enough space to move? Can anything be arranged better? Students here in this step revise their designs and, let's say, improve them. The most interesting part, public product, the final outcome of our project. Like, for example, we can ask our students to do a poster or drawing with a labeled classroom layout. Or they can simply present an oral presentation explaining, for example, the measurements, the area calculations that they did, the design choices. So all these parts or steps, by using these steps, we can simply transform any traditional lesson into a project-based learning one, an effective project-based learning one. So, in conclusion, project-based learning transforms classrooms from teacher-centered to student-driven. It builds critical thinking, collaboration, and real-life problem-solving skills, which are very important. Maybe these are the most important skills that we hope our students to have. Effective project-based learning is guided by, number 1, clear purpose. 2, meaningful inquiry, sustained inquiry. Number 3, student voice to choose, the freedom to choose. Number 4, continuous reflection and improvement during their working, at the end of the project, while they're thinking or choosing what they're gonna do. That is for our workshop today about the project-based learning. Thank you so much. And I hope that you found this workshop beneficial and full of practical ideas that you can apply with your students in your classrooms. So now
Thank
I'm
you.
ready to...
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms.
You're
AlRifai,
welcome.
for this informative presentation.
You're
And
welcome.
I think at this point, we would like to invite maybe one question from the audience. So if you would like to participate, please feel free to share your question or comment in the chat box.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm now seeing the comments. Yes, we can add listening corner or redesign the classroom. That's true. Yes, I will share the presentation. Thank you.
I think we have a question from Catherine. How can we fulfill the course? Go ahead.
How can we fulfill the course book if we use the project-based learning? So simply, you can follow the book that you have to finish and to teach, let's say, to your students, but by simply transform any traditional lesson into a project-based learning one, as we've just said in the examples. So in the examples now we share together, Yes, I explained to you the 4 or they are 7. The 7 steps that you have to follow in order to make it a project-based learning lesson, any lesson, math, science, English, whatever. Thank you, Abir. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you again, Ms. AlRifai, for sharing your experience
you.
and ideas with us today. And thanks
Thank you
to
so much.
everyone for your participation and engagement throughout the
Amazing,
session.
amazing audience. Thank you so much.
Yeah. The Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University appreciate your attendance, and we hope you continue to enjoy the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.